Hi, folks. Hollywood Progressive Team back with you again. Sunday night, we saw an interesting performance called The AllStore at Theater of Note on Cahuenga in Hollywood. It's written by Evan Marshall and directed by Maddie Downs, with a large cast headed by Arianna Evangelia, Mikah Kavita, and Dan Wingard. In a nutshell, AllStore takes a hard look at what it's like to work for peanuts at a big box store. Nia, you seem to take a shine to it. What did you think?
Yeah, so this play really spoke to me, and I think will speak to all millennials, if not all of the younger generations. This really epitomized the effect that corporations are having on the working class and people who are trying to pursue their dreams and are sadly faced with the reality that they have to pay their bills somehow in between having the dream and realizing the dream. And in the process, your soul kind of gets sucked out, and some people make the choice to, as they say in the play, sell themselves out and lean fully into this corporate infrastructure and become managers, or sort of make their way up the ladder. Not in any way to say that that isn't a good way to go for some people. However, I think that there are certainly, and this play shows the predatory side of it and how toxic the corporate infrastructure that we're seeing more and more in today's age is sort of corroding at the wills and the joys and the passion the passions that people have in their lives. And not just for the younger generations, this play did a good job of showing the effects of people like in my dad's generation who worked really hard. They had a very objectively or subjectively successful career in a blue collar job. But now that they are no longer able to work the blue collar job, they are forced to work in this big box store in this case. And again, because of their age, they're discriminated against, and just a really well thought out play. I also really enjoyed all the different facets that this play hit on. It was mostly about uh, corporate greed and the corporate toxicity, and how that weighs on the souls and, like I said, souls and passions that people have. But there were also hints at racism, sexism, all things that sadly many people of color and women experience in these workplaces, in any workplace, to be honest, where there are cishet men. This play just really hit home. I thought the acting was really nice. This was another really, really, really particularly small theater, and I think they made wonderful use of their stage space. I understood exactly where I was from the moment that we sat down and saw the set. There was only one place I think that I was really lost, and it was sort of this sort of dream ephemeral scene. And I think the I was lost simply due to what was available to the design team and things like that to sort of make the reality sort of shift. But all in all, I did enjoy this play. Definitely speaks to the struggle that the younger generations are facing, trying to make their way in a world ruled by people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars like it's nothing, and leave nothing for the rest of us. And I know Sharon had several things to say about this play. We all did.
Right, right. Thank you, Nia. So yeah, so you saw it through your lens, which is a generation or two behind mine. And so the story basically does present exactly what you're saying, what corporations do, the exploitation of the workers as well as the exploitation of the customers. It really paints a picture of hierarchy and how hierarchy, which is not necessarily bad in and of itself, but under most conditions, unless it is really watched, monitored, and kept in check, it becomes a way to divide the masses. And so what you had was managers and hourly workers. And in the case of a big box store, there's very little difference between the salaries of the management versus the hourly, not major differences. Certainly, the differences aren't big enough to warrant the kinds of divisions that you'll see exhibited by management and the way that they treat the rank and file hourly people that live on an hourly wage. And this was really reminiscent for me of a play that was based on a book written by the late Barbara Ehrenreich, who was just a fabulous writer, a journalist, who took, I believe, a year of her life. She was a noted journalist, an award-winning journalist, solidly middle-class person, and she wanted to experience what it was like to be an hourly wage person making minimum wage and really not use her debit card or her credit cards or anything, and try to live on minimum wage. And her book documents that process. She had several jobs throughout the writing of that book and throughout that year. And one of those jobs was to work at a big box store that shall remain nameless. But the play, the book is called Nickel and Dimed, and the play shows a lot of the same kinds of things that we saw in this play, which is called the AllStore, again, playing at the Cahuenga
Theater of Note.
Cahuenga Theater of Note. There are 11 actors in this play, some of whom are playing the roles of managers, some of whom are playing the roles of hourly workers. And while it is true that there are secondary storylines like love affair kind of stuff, and the main story is really the economics and the divide and conquer tactics used by deep-pocketed corporations to stop people that would normally align themselves and work to overthrow the whole structure. To stop them from doing that, they devise a system that benefits some and don't benefit others. So it's a great play. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm glad that we went to see it.
Yeah, I'm with you generally. As I said right after we left, I thought it was a draft of what could become a really good play. The themes, the economic exploitation of the working class, the workplace sexual abuse, the racism, the ageism, were all interwoven intellectually pretty well. I thought some of the execution of the play was at times a little awkward. For example, we've gone to several plays where the actors move pieces of the set around very fluidly. I think of Freight at Fountain Theater was wonderful. They even had a dancer do the moving of the props, and Middle of the Night was another really good one. Here they move the pieces, large pieces of furniture around a lot. I thought way too much, especially since they basically looked the same no matter what they did with it. I thought that could have been improved. I thought I was a little troubled. I think Sharon mentioned it. There is a fight scene at the end, I think, that plays into racial stereotypes of Black women as being tough and tougher than most, and I would eliminate that in the second draft of this play. I agree with both of them that I thought the acting was good, especially with the three main characters. Then there's a lot of other people. For the most part, it's quite a young cast, fairly new to the theater, I would think. I did think it was good to go to, and I did see Nickel and Dime that Barbara Ehrenreich saw. I mean, that was an interesting parallel. So that's basically it. I mean, it's politically, it's right on. The exploitation of the working class with these big box stores, homogenized stores that are soulless, and they don't pay people enough to live indoors in Los Angeles. There are stories of people working at those kind of jobs who have to go on general relief to be able to afford an apartment. And oftentimes 2 or 3 or 4 such people have to live together, whether they want to or not. to afford our skyrocketing rents in Los Angeles. And if this play can shine a light on those issues for anybody who could do anything about it, I think that would be good for everything. Any other thoughts, Nia or Sharon?
I will say that for myself, just you brought up the fight scene. I have to disagree. I did like it. I think it could have been executed a little better, but for me, what I got from it was not so much the racial aspect of things, but more instead of being the oppressed that has to bite back your tongue, it was like this big moment of like, okay, like, you know, we've all had bosses that we felt certain types of ways about. And this moment for me hit more of, you know, finally being able to do something about it. And I don't agree with how far it went. I think it went pretty far, but I read it more as a reckoning. Is that the word I'm looking for? Sort of, you know, enough is enough kind of moment. You know, we can't take it anymore, pushed past the limit and backed into a corner. And this sort of, I think reckoning is the word I'm thinking of, you know,
Yes.
doing what we actually want instead of having to bite our tongues and yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am, our way through life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand your feelings. But there was a book that was written maybe about 30 years ago by a woman. Her name was Reingold, maybe Faith Reingold, and it was about the myth of the Black superwoman. And that book really talks about how there's a lack of empathy for Black women because there's a belief that we can just, you know, kick the world's ass. And while
You're telling me that's not true?
oh,
I was gonna say, I think we could. I don't know.
but that maybe figuratively, but honest to God, literally in this household, there's no way that I can't even knock him over. He's 6'2" and over 250 pounds, and I'm 5'6". I lie most of the time and say I'm 5'7", but there's no way. So, but there is this persistent belief that, you know, Black women are to be feared and Black women are dangerous. And I think that as much satisfaction as you might get out of seeing a Black woman like do some serious harm to somebody, certainly somebody who deserves it, I think the furtherance of that myth does more harm than good. So that's the only reason that I feel that way.
I didn't see it as a Black woman doing it. I saw it as an oppressed person, the underclass, the one with the boot on her neck, finally taking the boot off of her neck without the race. She was Black, yes. I don't know if that yeah. I personally didn't see it. I saw it more from the socioeconomic standpoint as opposed to, but I absolutely see what you're saying.
Yeah,
hard, right? Writing is hard.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that we have that disagreement. I mean, we're three different ages and three different perspectives. We see things differently. I have one correction, one observation, and one correction. I was a boss, and nobody ever challenged me to a fight.
Huh. Hmm.
And
interesting.
And were you bigger than everybody always?
You saw my staff. And it's 249. Thank you very much.
Sorry, he's not 250. He's 249.
Okay, so we had a good time. It's not a very expensive play. We do think you ought to go. It's right in the heart of Hollywood. There's one good restaurant across the street and around the corner, every place you go, and lots going on in Hollywood. I mean, that's a happening place even on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
So we'll see you all maybe next week.
All right.
Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for sticking around. If you like the LA Progressive content and the discussions we have here, please consider clicking the subscribe button below and also give us a thumbs up. That helps to grow our audience by feeding the algorithm. which helps to get this content in front of more eyes. Thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate your support.